Welcome to the Connect, Protect, Recover campaign's Recovery Education 101 video. This video is designed to break down the key steps and various options in the recovery journey. As the family member or close friend of someone who is struggling with addiction or a substance use disorder, one of our goals is to make sure you understand the steps, processes, and language used by treatment and recovery providers in the field. That's important so that when your loved one is ready, you can be ready to support them and help them access and navigate through the best treatment programs to get them on the road to recovery and to advocate or question as needed. Let's get started. Recovering from any chronic disease can take time, and addiction is a disease of the brain. The process for fully recovering from a substance use disorder will take time, but it is possible. Taking your loved one's brain healing process seriously includes understanding how they may be impacted or behave along the way. If your loved one struggles, that's the time you have to remember the self-care that you need so you can stay involved to support their recovery journey.
Remember, substance use is a disease. And it's a disease of the brain. I tell people that all the time. Your prefrontal cortex is the front of the brain that helps you regulate. So when someone has that disruption from addiction or trauma, it's hard for them to think from this part.
Again, with an SUD, you are dealing with a disease. So now we will start showing you elements to treat and recover from this disease. Here are some things you need to know about supporting your loved one into treatment when they are ready. In this section, we describe how they can get into a treatment program in a short period of time and with no out-of-pocket costs for them or you if they don't have insurance. We also address how the intake process includes getting insurance for people who need it.
It is not that complicated to get in treatment. They think it's more harder than it actually is. We can get a client into treatment in approximately 3 to 5 days, and sometimes the same day, based on the availability of beds.
There are 2 front doors that the Connect, Protect, Recover campaign is promoting in order to access SUD treatment services. For clinical services countywide, Pathway to Care and Recovery is open 24/7, 365 days a year, to operate as one of the main front doors. You and your loved one can call or walk into the center to start the process to access services.
Allegheny County contracts with Pathway to Care and Recovery, which is a 24-hour, 7-day-a-week drug and alcohol crisis support service.
The county also understands that some families are initially more comfortable starting the process with a trusted provider right in their community. If you are in or near the Hill District, there is a phone-only Monday to Friday option.
Central Outreach Resource and Referral Center is a nonprofit organization that started and was birthed on the Hill District to provide services to the African American population unable to receive services at that time. The best thing that I can tell you is, long as you're willing to take the necessary steps, it's just that easy.
Completing paperwork is a major part of the intake and assessment process. This helps the provider understand your type of current insurance coverage and how your treatment will be paid for. The provider who does your intake process will also help you get insurance if you need it.
You don't need money to receive substance use disorder treatment since medical assistance covers the entire cost.
We can get you into treatment whether you have insurance or not. The county will pay for your treatment process.
Pathway to Care and Recovery will help a client regardless of insurance status. All services are provided free of charge. You will never receive a bill from PCR.
Don't think because you don't have insurance, you can't get substance use treatment. Lack of funding should never be a barrier to care. Some people will have their medical assistance activated during the course of their stay. This is ideal because having medical assistance in place and active helps with access to all sorts of health treatments, including for one's physical health needs.
Will my loved one receive quality treatment?
There's no difference in if you have insurance or if you don't have insurance, or the type of level of insurance you got. You'll get this kind of treatment. If you don't have that, you'll get this kind. It's the same across the board.
In Allegheny County, we believe that everyone should be treated fairly, non-judgmental, non-biased, and we believe that everyone deserves quality care.
Why harm reduction?
But what if your loved one is not ready to start or restart their recovery journey with SUD treatment? As frustrating or hopeless as that can feel, each person must get to the place of being ready to seek help in their own way and in their own time. Either way, this is why you need to understand what harm reduction means. Harm reduction strategies focus on keeping the person alive until they are ready and prepared to seek treatment. It protects them from known dangers of illicit drugs in the street supply that cause overdose, or of sharing needles, which leads to infections or diseases.
Harm reduction is that people that are going into, you're going into treatment and you may have a 3-day, 4-day, 5-day wait. So, what we do is we give them Narcan until they get into treatment. And one thing about Narcan is that you go through an overdose. You can't give it to yourself. And so you have to let somebody know that's close to you that you have it and explain to them how it's administered. There's syringe programs, there's strips that you can get that will determine if you're using fentanyl or not. And them things are important because maybe if you know it's there, you won't use it.
We talk in terms of social justice when it comes around harm reduction too, and we look at it from a health perspective. The first and foremost, it's about keeping somebody alive. Narcan has proven to be effective in reversing overdoses and keeping people alive. And what we say is that it's a pathway just like any other pathway. So no pathway is better or less than the other. It's just a pathway. But we love the work that we do with harm reduction because it gives us the ability, again, to treat people like humans, to love on people regardless of their decision. It's about wellness. It's about treating people with dignity and respect. It's about humanizing people. It's about, at the end of the day, no matter what, letting them know that they're loved and that we care about them.
We can't force people to change, but what we can do is love them until they're ready to change, but at the same time make sure we take care of ourselves.
Now we move to the assessment part of intake and assessment and the potential services your loved one can choose from to start or restart their recovery journey. Assessment determines your level of care. It's based on the type, frequency, and amount of the substance you've been using and for how long. The assessment process lays out the specific set of services that meet your loved one's needs and the kind of facility where it will be provided, whether through an inpatient or outpatient setting, for example. We'll help you understand the kinds of questions your loved one will be asked and why it's so important for them to answer as openly and honestly as possible, even if they have not shared all the details with you as a family member. And we will go through the key options and decision points for someone who is ready to start or restart their SUD recovery journey. These include both traditional and evolving medication-assisted treatment pathways based on harm reduction practices.
An assessment is part of the determination of the level of care. So the level of care is what type of treatment you actually need. We need certain information to direct the person that's needing treatment into the right process. So everybody's is different, and that would help us to determine what yours should be.
What kinds of questions will my loved one be asked during the assessment?
We need to know the type and the frequency of use, because that's going to dictate our approach. There's a difference between someone who's been using a substance for 6 months versus someone who's been doing it for 25 years. There's a lot of behaviors that have been practiced over the course of time. There's a different treatment philosophy or treatment approach with someone who is strictly alcohol versus an opioid user versus a marijuana user or versus a crack cocaine user. We need to know what you were using, how much, how often, because when we talk about frequency, now that dictates in the embeddedness of this substance in the individual.
Both parties have an obligation to act in good faith during the assessment process. The provider should be unbiased and impartial, making sure they listen to your loved one without making judgments and unfairly steering them in one direction or the other.
Staff provide substance use screening and level of care assessments in an impartial manner so that determination results for referrals go to the most appropriate service or program.
An unbiased assessment is the same thing. It determines what type of treatment you need.
At the same time, your loved one must answer questions honestly. That way, they can be matched with the treatment that really fits their current situation.
It is important for a client to be honest during the process so staff can work with them and link them to the most appropriate provider.
You can only draw up your approach or your response based on what I tell you. So that assessment piece is so important. When we're talking about these assessments, 99% of the time, these are self-reports. So imagine this, if you're a clinician and I'm coming to you, you're doing an assessment on me, and I do 20 bags of heroin a day, but I tell you I do 1. That information is it's critical in order for us. We have to have that so that we know when we march forward, we're coming with the best response, the best approach.
When is detox needed, and what is it?
If you're an addict that is using an opiate substance, say heroin or oxycodone or a chemical like that, then you would need a detox before you go into treatment. Detox is very important because it's very hard for a person to walk away from a substance like heroin or alcohol and just be okay without going to detox. It could be very, very challenging and dangerous. There's a medical facility that does that detox part before you go into the rehab part of it.
What does an inpatient or rehab facility offer?
An inpatient is that the client will be in a facility 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, for maybe 14 to 28 days. Controlled environment is inpatient. And what do you do when you've been using for 20 years? And all of a sudden you're trying to function without a chemical in you. So you separate them from the chemical. And that separation is based on in treatment. And while that separation is taking place, you're also getting educated. It's very hard for a person that's been using for 10 or 15 years to go into detox and turn around and go right back to that same environment that they've been in the majority of their life and not pick up a chemical. There's things you need to do in order to keep the process going like it's supposed to go. The rehab gives you the option that you have a little strength and you know what to do when you go back into the environment. The main objective is to give a client the information they need to continue the journey of staying clean.
What kind of support could my loved one get during outpatient treatment, and why is it recommended for long-term recovery?
The outpatient treatment is a continuation of what you got in the inpatient treatment. The only difference is that you will be going there maybe 3 days a week. So you won't be in a controlled environment. You're able to take care of some of your responsibilities and use the tools that you learned when you were in the rehab, to apply them in your everyday life. And you have to put just as much energy in that as you did in the rehab. Because now you're not in a controlled environment. Now you can make choices. Now you see all the people that you used to see, or you used to run around with, or you used to get high with. And even if you do run into that process, it gives you the ability to change that process.
Whatever path your loved one chooses, recovery plans and supports, including from chosen family like you, are highly recommended to achieve and sustain long-term recovery. We'll talk about those later in the video. As we mentioned earlier in this video, each person's path to recovery can be different. The important thing is that everyone has the right to choose the recovery path that will work for them. In this episode, we present information about a set of treatment options for substance use disorders, known as MAT, or medication-assisted treatment. These work for many people because they allow them to get stabilized and function on an everyday basis while they continue to work on their recovery. But your loved one can't make their best choice without understanding what all of their options are. This overview will prepare you, so you'll know what kind of questions you may want to ask your provider or prescriber. And when your loved one is ready to start or restart their treatment, you can help support their decision-making and even advocate on their behalf if they need it.
MATs can be looked at as a process to an end result. Methadone is administered daily. It helps you deal with the withdrawal and it stabilizes you. You get on methadone, it's not for life. You're still going to have to go through the process of getting off of it sooner or later.
Now, one thing I will say about the methadone clinics is once I prove myself, then I can get what they call a take-home dose. Whereas if I can go and get my strips of Suboxone, take them home with me, I'm cool.
Suboxone is a prescription. They write you a prescription. You can take it. It could be a 30-day prescription. So you don't have to go to that facility for 30 days.
A lot of Suboxone places are cash businesses, so there's a problem right there. Then the Vivitrol, I can get that shot and be good for 30 days, right? And be good for 30 days. Now I don't have to worry about transportation. Now I don't have to worry about finding a way to get there, right? And the Vivitrol, because it's a shot, an injection, I can't divert it or do anything like that. It's in me.
So it gives you a lot more leeway in terms of being able to function than the methadone program does.
However, methadone treatment can be helpful for those who prefer a more structured approach.
But we also know that there's the equity piece because it all boils down to education and access, right? Blacks are more likely, if they get prescribed anything in that realm, it would be methadone. And what we say is we need to make MOUD and harm reduction equitable across the board, and it should be offered. In a lot of cases, it's not even offered.
It's actually based on the individual, what they feel is working for them. However long that may be, they get to make that decision, How long, they want to be, if they're going to be on the methadone, if they feel like they're not in the, the position to get off of it right then, they always got a safe haven that can protect them until they get to that point. And then also, you ain't killing yourself. With the drugs out there on the street today, fentanyl is killing people left and right. And at least you don't have to deal with that. You don't have to worry about what am I putting in myself, because it's bad. It's bad in terms of what's going on and what people are using and not knowing what they get. And then there's some stuff called xylazine that's really even worse than fentanyl.
The illicit substances in street drugs are always evolving. But with MATs, you know what substances you'll be receiving.
Now, it's taken the recovery community some time to really get on board. I get it, but I didn't get it all the time. I am one who at one time believed that if you weren't completely abstinent, it wasn't going to happen for you. But I had the strangest thing happen to me when I was in grad school. In this one class, a young lady came in because she only needed this one class. So they brought her into our cohort. And as fate would see it, her and I got teamed up on a project together. And so in the midst of working together, we're talking, hey, what do you do? What do you do? And she disclosed to me that she was on methadone. And I was driving home and I thought to myself, man, there's a good chance that if she wasn't on methadone, she sure enough would not be getting a master's degree. And that shaped my lens to understand that as long as someone's breathing, there's always an opportunity for change.
Different kinds of substance use disorders and individual needs may require different treatments. There is not a one-size-fits-all answer. But remember, whatever path your loved one chooses, they will benefit from having a full range of ongoing recovery supports to follow through on and execute their long-term recovery plan. Recovery is a lifelong journey. Because it will include setbacks, which we all experience in life, and even relapse. The best chance at successful recovery requires aftercare planning, a range of recovery supports for your loved one, and of course, ongoing support and self-care for you.
Aftercare. It's the care after you leave the treatment facilities, and what we ask is that you follow the process and that you commit to the program.
First, acknowledging the fact that treatment happens in facilities and recovery and wellness happen in communities.
Aftercare planning for me is looking at the whole person and everybody that's connected to that whole person and every system that's connected to that person, because that's going to help them stay stable in their recovery process.
Recovery supports are very important to every phase of the recovery journey.
It's not just the substance use. Some people just focus on the substance use, right? So it's important to make sure that we have stable housing, inclusive services for people transitioning out of treatment. But most of all, what resources are you connected to?
Because our lives are so complex, recovering from a chronic disease like addiction will take time. But it is possible with a range of recovery supports that address mind, body, and soul.
Remember, substance use is a biopsychosocial disease. No one wakes up and says, hey, I want to go and trick on Tioga because I want to have a habit that I need to support. So really understanding the biopsychosocial of that disease and surrounding your supports and getting your resources, such as your social determinants of health, making sure you have your PCP that understands your needs, not just your substance use needs, but also your physical health, your mental health, making sure like you have a peer support in place.
You go into a certain facility and there may be groups daily. You're going to talk with a counselor. And then if you're dealing with a mental health issue, they would connect you with that process that'll help you deal with the mental health.
Families that have successfully been through it have learned that recovery includes setbacks and challenges. Relapse is not a failure, but is considered a step on the path of behavior change. If your loved one relapses, that doesn't mean that they are back at square one. They, and now you, have useful knowledge about the process, and maybe even some of the pitfalls. As they pick up and move forward, those insights can help things go better next time.
People don't understand how the brain works either. The brain, the way how it heals and functions, right? So most people, when they come into recovery, they go through post-acute withdrawal, even in their early recovery. And it's not even just physical withdrawal from the substance. I may have 4 months clean time, but guess what? My central nervous system still feels a little bit imbalanced. So I may still become moody. I may have problems with sleeping. I may really think about self-sabotage because something in my body doesn't feel what used to be normal. People look at relapse as picking up a substance, right? Relapse is really about your behavior. Do I have behaviors that's going to lead me to relapsing and picking up a substance? So we're asking people who come into treatment with 6 months clean time to really expedite the healing of their brain and be functional the way how we perceive as what functional is. That's unrealistic. And so how can I acknowledge those behaviors and be prepared to have a relapse prevention plan, have supports in place, having someone who can hold space for you without judgment.
In the end, there is success, but to get there, it takes many kinds of recovery supports for your loved one, including the highly effective 12-step model.
The 12-step meetings are the keys to survival. Narcotics Anonymous and Alcoholics Anonymous, Cocaine Anonymous. You know, there's all sorts of programs. There's more people that goes to 12-step meetings from the treatment process and staying clean than any other process that I know. It's a big difference when you see somebody that has been successful in the process of treatment and you know that they used to be like you were. Chase the meetings like you chase the drugs. You get a meeting list. You find out where the 12-step programs are because that's going to give you support you need. That's where you're going to see people that are like you, that have lived like you used to live, and that have gotten better. You're also getting educated on what to do when you go back into the environment. They're gonna give you the information that you may need, that you will need, to be successful.
Finding the best recovery supports that work for your loved one can make a life-saving difference. At the same time, we understand that dealing with your loved one's struggles has likely been stressful, if not traumatic, for those who care about them. In the next section, we talk about social supports and self-care that you can tap into. In this final section of the video, we turn our focus back to you, the biological or chosen family members, adult siblings, partners, and close friends and others who can support someone who is struggling with addiction. Understand that innovations and options for SUD treatment will continue to evolve. The language and terms used to describe them will change, and the path to recovery of your loved one will have twists and turns. But through it all, you can be the constant, a supportive, knowledgeable, and protective presence.
This whole process is really trying to talk to the support that the families need, and that's very important.
In order to get through addiction, you need some kind of support.
You are just as important as the person that you care about that's using.
There are family support groups out there to help you manage those different levels of emotions. And having supports in place can really help you navigate all of that.
Wished I had known the who, what, where, and why. Who could I reach out to? Who could I talk to? without feeling like I'm betraying a confidence of a loved one.
Now I may need to seek therapy. Now I may need to seek out those support groups, or be able to call a hotline, or be able to go online to watch videos. Understand the importance of having a chain of supports that we can pick up the phone to contact. All of those things would be beneficial.
The science clearly shows that successful recovery from a substance use disorder significantly increases with the involvement and meaningful support from family and other loved ones. But we also know that being a strong support system to someone struggling with addiction isn't easy. There will be ups and downs in the process, and many substance users will relapse. You will need to be prepared if this happens, and make sure that you take care of yourself enough to be able to remain engaged with your loved one and active in the recovery process. And part of taking care of yourself is setting boundaries.
So set the boundary, identify it, set it, and be okay with it.
So we tell families, you can draw your boundaries and you can be as involved as you want as far as the levels of intensity. How involved do you want to be?
They have to be ready to do it themselves. Just hang in there with them. Be positive, care for the person, but set boundaries. You're not loving them any less. If anything, you're loving them more.
So that being said, how about I just do what's best for my own emotional wellness?
Even with boundaries, you still have to practice self-care.
Sometimes we got to take a step back, put the oxygen mask on ourselves, take care of ourselves, then go in and help them.
You can't help somebody if you don't know how to help yourself.
Self-care is something that I live by. You have to establish rituals. What are the things that make me feel at peace, calm, still, allowing me to think, and tap into those, as it's going to look different across the board. What works for me may not work for you. Understanding your safe space and what that looks like, and understanding your signs.
You can define and practice self-care in the best ways that work for you, that address your mind, body, and soul. Make time for reflection and find things to enjoy, laugh, and smile about every day. Respect your body by taking good care of it. Don't forget about your spirituality, whatever keeps you centered. And know that if you're feeling overwhelmed, it's okay to get the support and help you need.
Most of all, what worked for me was having supports, but also having my spirituality as a resource. Spirituality is one of the core foundations of recovery. Step number one is admitting that we're powerless. And sometimes we're powerless over our loved ones. All the time we are.
You have to learn how to let go, let God, take care of yourself so you can be strong, because sometimes your strength is what that family member needs to pull themselves out of the hole that they're in.
Have faith, keep faith. It's just never too late.
Just remember that for most people, at some point, long-term recovery is not just a possibility. It happens.
And we also understand the positive side of recovery. We always talk about the negative numbers, but we don't talk about how 75% of people do recover. They may fall down once, twice, 3 times, and they may get up on that 4th time, and guess what? They recover and go on and do wonderful things in their lives and in our communities.
The best way to get through this recovery journey with your loved one is by taking care of yourself. Surely, even aside from this situation, you deserve it. Take care of your physical, mental, and spiritual health while setting boundaries and asking for support when you need it. You can't help your loved one when you are running on empty. The recovery process may not be easy, but self-care and support allow you to walk beside your loved one as they and your family begin to heal and move forward.
My brother that was on heroin, he's living a prosperous life. He's gotten married, he's developed a good, strong relationship with his children, and he's become more of a pillar of the family.
I commend my dad, and I think he's really strong for being able to do it, for being able to stick with that for 22 years now, even though you had many slapbacks and, setbacks and stuff. Like you finally did it.
Get support. Get educated. Get resources. And get involved. Your loved one deserves help. You deserve peace. We provide both.
Addiction can be one of life's worst stresses, so it's best to connect with specialists who are invested and can help you protect your loved one from an overdose or even worse. This disease can be reversed when strong support is dispersed. You deserve the chance to recover your peace of mind. While your loved one discovers life can be redesigned. When times don't seem clear, brighter days can be near. Make the call, you're not alone. We're ready and we're here.